this evening. We have Sal Abbinanti back on the show. We talked to him a couple months ago when he was doing his Kickstarter for the hostage, and I've known of Sal since probably about 2015 when I started listening to the Comic Geek Speak podcast, and met him a couple times at the different shows that they put together and at New York Comic Con. So why don't I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and we can find about ATOMIKA, a project that I know that's near and dear to him. So, hey Sal, how's it going?
Okay, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for taking the time to talk to us about ATOMIKA.
Yeah, sure.
So, before we get started about that, how did the hostage wrap up for you? Because I saw people getting their stuff, and they were really pleased from what I saw.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it did really well. I mean, it's kind of like a purging afterwards. It's important to do all the work and get it out there and beat the bushes, but it's a lot of work. It's tiring, but it's worth it because the hostage was a labor of love, man. And I'm very relieved that it's out and we were funded. And the reviews were great, which kind of surprised me because I didn't really go into it with any preconceived ideas that, the book was for everybody, but, and it's not for everybody, but it did well. So I'm really, really, really happy. And thanks again for everybody that supported it.
So we're here today because you're running another Kickstarter on ATOMIKA, and like I said in my quick intro, when I first met you and knew of you back in 2015, probably around the time I started listening, which was about the time I started listening to Comic Geek Speak. Then you had started started working on ATOMIKA. So kind of give us a summary of what it's about and maybe the history of it also.
It was a book I came out with because I started publishing myself because I just couldn't get in the comic industry. They wouldn't let me in their party, so to speak. So I decided to self-publish, and ATOMIKA came about. He's the god of the 20th century. He kind of represents technology. And growing up in the 70s, the Soviet Union was always the evil empire. And being a big Kirby guy, New Gods had a profound impact on me as a kid, and it was probably the reason I wanted to become a comic artist.
I noticed looking at your mural behind you.
Yeah, that's actually Alex Ross piece. It's kind of an homage he did for Neil Adams. It's neon, and I like the neon colors because it reminds me of black light posters. When I was a kid, I had all the Kirby black light posters in my room. So
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. It's a really nice piece that Alex did, and I saw it and I said, "Hey man, can I have that?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's just he painted it with like regular poster paint and that those jars you buy at the grocery store. But I'm a big fan of the black light posters of the 70s, the Third Eye posters that Marvel licensed out to them. And so this is kind of that. And my wife doesn't mind me having it in the living room. So that's what that is. But so with ATOMIKA, when I put it out in individual issues, 12 individual issues. And it did good. It did okay. But with indie books, it's a tough sell to comic stores. So I never really felt that I got a chance to put it all together, and do one big omnibus. I did some trades, but trades are kind of weird because, I had to split it into two trades. So this is all that. This is kind of a streaming of all 12 books, all the pinups, all the covers, all the extra materials, everything that I did with the project. I had the files because it was printed in Eastern Europe as a book in another language. And I was kind of like, wow, it turned out really well. I'd love to do it in English, but I didn't think anybody would care, or I didn't really necessarily feel that there was a market for it. But when COVID hit, it forced all indie publishers to kind of pivot and do, different ways to reach the comic market, other than, Diamond and the other ways you're kind of, doing cons and stuff like that. So after I did the hostage, and I was kind of like overwhelmed with the positive response. It was so gratifying. I thought, hey, I've got the files for this project. There's a lot of material that's never been seen. It's over 300 pages. Let's do it. And so, the version they did. Let me grab it for you. The version they did in Eastern Europe. This is the book that they did. It came out really, really nice. So I thought, man, if I could do this in English, an English version, it would be awesome. So it's a lot of material.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, if I could more effectively market it than just going through Diamond. Diamond's great, but it only reaches the comic stores. And if an indie store doesn't decide to buy an indie title, you're kind of out. You're out in the cold. So I thought, hey, I know I just did a Kickstarter, in February, but I thought, hey, I wanted to get this in. I'll be honest with you. I wanted to get this in before the end of the year because there's kind of been a lot of delays with printing and different things like that. So this way, if we get it in now, I can I could do order fulfillment before the summer. And so I'm excited about getting it done that way.
Now, you penciled the issues and came up with the concept, and it was Andrew Dabb who helped you with the story.
Yeah, I plotted it. I created it and I plotted it with Andrew. And Andrew was, at the time, he was doing some comic work, and he was doing pretty well. He was doing some stuff with Vertigo and some other indie publishers. So him and I, we became friends. We met through some variety of sources, and I saw him at shows and cons. And so we used to chat it up at cons. And he's a super nice guy, and he's a tremendous writer. So I said, hey, Andrew, what do you think about us doing something? So we did a few pitches for Marvel that never really got any traction. And then I said, hey, I got this idea for ATOMIKA. So, he was like, yeah, let me see some art. So I put together, a couple of issues, and we did it old school where I sent him the art. I sent him Xeroxes of the art, and he wrote the script over the art. And it really does give the book another dimension because it's kind of poetic, and kind of haunting at the same time. And I can't take any credit for the writing. It's all Andrew. He did a great job.
And who else is worked on the book with you as part of the creative team?
A good friend of mine, Aldrin Buzz. People know him as Buzz at shows and online. He's a prolific inker. And I approached him about inking it because I really wanted the book to have a more professional, slicker finishes, because my pencils are kind of loose and erratic. And so Buzz inked it. He did a great job. And Beth Sotelo and Christina Strain did the colors. We did digital colors, and Dave Sharp did the lettering, the digital lettering. And then I have a whole, I was doing a lot of shows at the time, man. I was doing like 2 or 3 shows a month. So I approached a lot of artists to do covers for me and to do, whatever they wanted to contribute. I paid them, of course, but cover, a pinup, anything that they wanted to contribute. I approached a lot of guys. So I was lucky enough to get a real murderer's row of artists to contribute, and all of the material is in the book. I mean, Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz and Claudio Castellini and Darwin Cook and Gene Colan and John Romita Sr. and Eric Powell and David Mack and Tim Bradstreet did a great cover, and Simon Bisley and Glenn Fabry did 3 amazing paintings for the book, and Steve Rude. And then I hit up guys that I was huge fans of, like Tony DeZuniga and Alex Nino and Ernie Chan and Lucio Perillo and Simone Bianchi. So there's kind of it was a love fest of artists that I approached, because I would see him in Artist Alley and I would see him at cons, and there was a few that got away that didn't participate, but for the most part, I can't complain. I mean, my God, I got 2 Alex Ross pieces and 2 Bill Sienkiewicz. So there's a lot of great stuff in there. There's an entire gallery in there of all these pieces that I felt, look, man, after this, I don't know if ATOMIKA is ever going to come around again. So I wanted to put it all together and get it out and have it so that, like, for example, the Darwin Cook piece has never been seen before. So I thought, hey,
Oh
I don't
wow.
want this. It was never published. And a
Hmm.
couple of the other pieces were never published, So I thought, man, I don't want them to just kind of fade away. So I put them in there. And there's an extra, supplemental material in the book that people who bought the book, didn't get to see.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Kickstarter. Have it up there on the screen.
Uh-huh.
Looks like you have about 2 weeks left, and so what are you offering for people to who decide to back your project?
Yeah, I mean, the stretch goals are really important and rewarding in the sense that I've got a lot of, I hate to keep reiterating, but I've got a lot of material that I wanted to get out there, um, because it just seemed like such a waste to have these great pieces and have them just kind of never be seen. So we're doing a trading card set, an ATOMIKA trading card set. We're doing all the images and trading cards. We're doing a lithograph package with, the Alex Ross piece and Bill Sienkiewicz and Darwin Cook and Michael Turner did a great piece for us. And David Mack. And then we're doing these great Soviet antique vintage sticker set. We're doing a coin. We're doing an ATOMIKA coin. Um, I'm offering, of course, like there's levels where I do original art, where I do painted, handmade postcards and 11x17 commissions. Um, we're going to be doing, bookmarks, a bookmark set. We're going to be doing keychains. We're going to be doing the whole Megillah. I mean, we did a lot of these extra type things for the hostage, and they were so successful, and people really seemed to love them. So that I thought, hey guys, and then we're doing an ATOMIKA, a sketchbook, to kind of show my thumbnails and the process of the work put into it. So there's a lot. We're offering a lot, and
Hmm.
in fairness to the book, it really, there's some great stuff. These are, there's some artists in there that really kicked it in the ass and made this a cool project.
So was there anything that you kind of learned from doing your Kickstarter for the hostage that you kind of
A lot. I mean, it's really rewarding as an indie guy to do this, because you can have this, as an indie publisher. It's important to have the one-to-one with the fan base and supporters and comic fans, because indie comic readers are a special, it's a different segment of the market. They like the feedback. They like to tell you when they're pissed off. They like to bitch about things, and that's important, because you can only get that at cons. I can only get that, if you and I were in Artist Alley, and if something sucks, they'll tell you it sucks. And if they're pissed off about something or they're not happy with something, you get direct feedback, which that's all you can hope for. When you put an ad in Diamond, you put an ad in and then you just sit back and wait for your orders, and you hope the comic store gives it a shot, or you got to do the groundwork and do all the cons. Well, with Kickstarter, at least you can get that feedback. You can hear, hey, my book is late, or hey, or why don't you do this, or hey, can I get an extra that? And it's like, it's cool because you can answer them right away in real time.
hmm.
But you better have a bulletproof plan of how you're going to deliver the book, because people, especially in the comic business, just don't want to hear your bullshit if your book is late, or you're not providing order fulfillment. Because I think people have gotten burned on Kickstarter in the past few years, and Kickstarter doesn't tolerate that kind of shit anymore. So we didn't want to start this until we were rock solid with the hostage, and the order fulfillment was done. And our order fulfillment on the hostage is 99%. But there's a few out there that the stuff that had to go internationally to Australia and stuff like that. But everything else, all the other books were delivered. So we felt comfortable in that. And I think a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, they don't realize how important order fulfillment is,
Hmm.
because you're only going to piss people off one time, and then they're never going to give you another shot, because they just feel like, hey, they were taken advantage of. So it was crucial to us that didn't happen. And so that was probably the biggest thing I learned, is that you're out there doing this. If you bullshit and don't get your work done and don't get the book out and don't respond, to the feedback, you're going to lose him. You know, you're not going to get him, and you're not going to get him back.
Now, did you have you made it to any conventions this year?
I haven't. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. I feel it was a time to pivot until next year, you know,
Yep.
22. I feel 22, we're going to be back. I plan on being back. You know, it's Emerald Con in San Diego and, you know, New York and everything. But I just still feel it's too soon. And I think I'm excited that people are going back to cons. But I think if you look at the list, you look at at what's going on and the people I've talked to, it just seems still too soon for exhibitors to go back, you know, for publishers to go back and for gaming companies and that, because I still think they feel, you know, that we're not quite out of the woods yet. I think we're definitely well on our way, especially now that the kids are getting vaccinated.
Yes.
But I think 22 will be, I think we'll look as close to normal as it has. And I'm excited.
That was a big thing for me, you know, on my decision whether or not to not go to New York was at the time, you know, my son didn't qualify for his vaccination, which he just turned 5, so you know we're getting stuff on board. So
right, I mean I think it's also, if you've got companies that can't send their employees, like Marvel and DC and Top Cow and Boom, you notice none of those guys are there yet, but I think they'll be back. But I think it's still too soon, and also I think the convention halls weren't allowed to have the you know, the exhibitors, the Reed and the different companies that throw these shows, they weren't even allowed to be at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
So you had New York, which didn't sell out other than Saturday, and then San Diego has one coming up next week. And I would have loved to have gone to San Diego because that's my favorite show like ever. I've done it for 20 years in a row. My first San Diego, I slept in a bathtub. There was 12 of us in a room at the DoubleTree. But it's Thanksgiving weekend.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and when you got a family, you know, I don't have to tell you, say no more. You can't, because it's Thanksgiving weekend. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend Thanksgiving weekend at O'Hare, because it's the fall of Saigon when you go to O'Hare on Thanksgiving weekend. So, you know, I hope they do well. I really do. It's you know, probably one of my favorite places on earth is San Diego, but it's too soon. And Chicago, we got one here in December, and so I think, in fairness, I think a lot of these companies that put shows together, and you know, San Diego and Reed, and I think they couldn't go more than 2 years without having their brand out there. So I think they had to do something before the end of the year. So I think that's what it is. And I think fans will show up. I mean, attendance seemed to be up and down at some of these. MegaCon, I think, did okay. And I know New York did okay. And, you know, the fan base is coming back. But it's kind of tough when you got to wear the masks and you got the mandates and you got the proof of vaccination. So 22, man, is the year we're planning on.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. I mean, I hope to be back on the floor at New York Comic Con.
New York is that's a tough show, man. That's a rough one. And I love New York, but Reed is that Reed pop show at the Javits is it's a little rough. I mean, the bathrooms at the Javits are like my high school. You know, I mean, it's like, the line for the ATM, and you know, there's no toilets, and there's I had to go to the tow yard to use the bathroom, you know, at the Javits across the street, and it's 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. But you know, I love it. I do it. I've done it every year. But man, that show's rough. It's a little too crowded.
Yeah, and I think the last time I was there and I ran into you, you were doing the Alex Ross exhibit.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I think you were also doing Bill Sienkiewicz's.
We'll be back. I still do, you know, I still work with Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz, so we'll definitely be back. I'm excited. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I won't lie. I was glad. It was okay to take a year off. I mean, it was okay to take 2 years off. I miss it. I miss the people. I miss seeing people, you know, that you only really see once a year. But I did it 20 years in a row, man.
Hmm.
And having a summer home, having a July home, and this was my first thing. It was my first October, my first Halloween that I took my daughter, trick or treating, because I was usually at a con
Yeah.
every Thanksgiving. I usually do Lucca in Italy since '04. I did Lucca, so it was nice. But I got to be honest, it's also going to be really interesting to see what the damage was, who's back, but who's not back. What the casualties were.
Hmm.
What companies decide. Some companies I think are going to decide maybe they don't need to do trade shows. Maybe because trade shows are expensive, man, and not a lot, and there's a lot of companies out there that don't feel it's a return on an investment. Because the money you spend versus the promotion. I mean, I think it's important. I believe that cultivating new business and client face to faces will never be taking place by Zoom meetings and emails and phone calls. But San Diego, I hope it's sold out. But I think you might see some gaps that are filled by gaming companies, because a lot of gaming companies have been dying to get into San Diego. So it'll be interesting to see, is Warner Brothers going to be back? I mean, it's since the merger. It's a new company now. I know Disney will be back. I know Marvel will be back, but I want it to be sold out, man. I want it to be back like it was, and I don't know. I mean, how do you feel? I don't know if it's going to be 100%.
I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it and be in being in large groups. I went to the local Albany Con show this past weekend, and just for Albany, New York, and there were a lot of people. That's probably the biggest crowd I've been in since a year and a half. And I mean,
Yeah,
everybody was required to wear masks, and it was
right.
fine. And
I
but it
think
was
that's
just
gonna. Yeah.
so. What about for you creatively? I know that you occasionally post up your paintings on Facebook that you do for your like daily warm up sketches and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Staying busy, man. I mean, ATOMIKA, the hostage was a labor of love. I got that out. I'm excited that it's done, because I like to move on to the next thing. And with COVID, it really was a blessing and a curse, because it was a curse for all the reasons we all know. It was a curse, mainly being home with the kids for a year and a half. But it also provided me with the time and the ability to focus on my own work. And so when we finish up, I've already started my next project. I'm hoping to have it out a tail end of the summer. I'm
Nice.
working on another graphic novel for a project that I've kind of been in development with for a lot of years, called Day Goes on the Moon. And I don't know if they're going to let me say Day Goes on the Moon, because I don't think it's a problem, but we
You should
live
be
in a.
grandfathered in.
I don't know, man. It's a different world now. Some people have kind of raised an eyebrow with it, because I always thought it was. It's not. I mean, it's about a it's about a squadron of Italian in the Italian Air Force, and they get lost and they wind up on the moon. And it's kind of my style of art. It's not going to look like Little
Yeah,
Lotta. It's and the title is meant to make fun of them, but it's really not. You'll see
yeah.
as you read the book, you'll see. But it's a labor of love too. So I'm about maybe 35 pages in. I got a ways to go, and I'm hoping to finish it, because I know when con season comes around, I'm going to be really busy again doing San Diego and
Yeah.
New York, the rodeo, New York and Italy and all that. And but what I've been doing a lot of. I got a signing this weekend. I got a hostage signing here in Chicago this weekend at Challengers Comics in Bucktown, which I'm real excited about. They were nice enough to offer it as an indie publisher. You never usually expect that, because
Mhm.
the fans come out for the big names, and I'm obviously not Chap Yap or Rob Liefeld, or people people know who the hell I am. You know. But I know it's cool. I'm keeping busy, drawing a lot, painting a lot. I spend a lot more time in my studio now, keeping my chops up. But I still work with Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz. That's
Yeah.
still that hasn't changed.
Well, Is there any? Would you like to do one last pitch for the Kickstarter before we?
Yeah, I really feel that if you know about ATOMIKA, you don't know about ATOMIKA, check it out. You're really going to see that there's something in it for everybody. I mean, it's obviously it's about the 12-issue book, the 12-issue story arc. It's a story that's meant to just go 12 issues. It's not an ongoing character. It's meant to just be 12 issues. But there's a lot of great art in there by a lot of different creators that I'm, you'll see. I mean, there's something in there, whoever you like, you'll see, from Michael Turner to, to Bill Sienkiewicz to, Tim Bradstreet, that provided these amazing pieces. And the story, I still think it holds up. I mean, I was a little leery when I was going to re-release it, because this was something I put out about 10 years ago. But it holds up. I mean, especially Andrew's writing is rock solid. And the art is it's my style, so it's not Hanna-Barbera, obviously, but and it's over 300 pages, and there's a lot of tiers, and the basic hardcover tier is not that expensive, and there's a lot of different levels of a lot of cool stuff you're gonna get, man. And we're throwing in a lot of other free stuff. You'll see, we did that with the hostage because it just a little goes a long way with that stuff.
Definitely.
You throw in a lot of free stuff, man. People love that stuff. But
All right.
Check it out. It's not a religious book. It's not a political book. I've gotten some weird emails calling me comrade and telling me, God isn't red. It's like, no, that's just the Soviet Union told the people that all religion is outlawed and it's counterproductive to the state. So the state is your religion. So they literally created a God, and that's what ATOMIKA is.
Well, all those emails are probably just the Comic Geek Speak guys, trolling you.
I don't know. Maybe when they call, it's a giveaway when they call me comrade. I love that. I'm like, guys, come on now. Take it easy. It's a comic book. It's not. I'm not trying to, I'm not, trying to overthrow a government. I'm just trying, I'm putting out a comic book.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
All right. So where can people
give it a shot, or at least take a look at the page. There's a lot of sample art there that you can look if you want.
It is definitely a beautiful book. And like I said, I've followed it over the years, and it's great to see that you're getting to have, the chance to put it out in this,
it's pretty exciting. Yeah, it was erratic, so this is why I'm really glad that you can read it one whole sitting. It's all there, all the materials in there. There's no more gaps or up and down. This is the full Megillah.
All right. Well, where can people find you on social media?
I'm Sal Abbinanti. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Also, Mercury Comics that's me. I do sketch of the day. I post videos. I do all that stuff. Because I keep busy doing lots of different of my own stuff as well. So.
All right. Well, it was great catching up with you, and hopefully we'll hear you on the Comic Geek Speak sometime. And
yeah, I think I'm supposed to be on with them soon. I don't know. I mean, are many of those guys left anymore, or are most of them kind of defect?
I think the group is kind of rotated in and out.
Okay. Yeah, they're good guys. I don't know sometimes who's left or who's on there. I know, Brian and some of those guys have and Pants have kind of gone their separate ways.
Yeah. But it was great chatting with you. Great catching up.
Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
We'll have to talk about the new book when it comes out. Hopefully you won't have to change the name because
we'll see. We'll see. We get the Columbus statues back. Maybe they'll be okay with Dagos.
All righty. Well, take care and continue to stay safe and stay healthy. And hopefully we'll see you in person sometime.
Thanks again.
All right. Later.
All right.